Hey, thanks for joining us on our Halloween comic book coffee break. I'm Hal Jordan.
Aha! I'm Eric Mickles, also known online as Dusk versus Tweak.
Today, Eric, I'm drinking Yuban coffee. It's black on ice, and I'm not going to lie to you, it's a little strong. It's a little strong.
Okay. Today I've got Pepsi, cherry Pepsi, once again.
The same?
No, it's
That cherry Pepsi's lasting you a whole week?
No. This was
Okay.
another attempt to get Pepsi.
And they still... Just buy more Pepsi. Just tell them to buy more... Whatever they're doing, buy more Pepsi.
I'm drinking out of my wife's Friends mug.
Yeah, but you got a real attitude about friends.
I'm
You
doing
got a
it in
bad
honor
attitude
of
for
my current watching of Cougar Town.
Oh, well
So-
then you should be drinking like red wine out of a punch bowl
That's
if you
true,
want to honor
yeah.
Cougar Town.
I just got to the episode where they made the Guzzle Buddy, and it's just a wine glass that you screw on like a light bulb to the top of your wine bottle. I don't like wine, but maybe I got to get into it.
You
No,
might have
I'm almost
to.
done with season 5, so it might be too late. I've been watching the show without wine.
Hey, nothing says you can't rewatch Cougar Town.
Yeah, with wine.
You
Now
know?
I'll know when to do the clinks.
Yeah, you
Just
will.
me by myself at 2 a.m. clinking with a non-existent glass and a bottle of wine.
Yep, exactly.
Boy,
Exactly.
gang, we really are the cul-de-sac crew.
Boy, that show really it dropped its premise about 5 episodes.
Yeah,
in. It was like, screw this. We're
you
all
can-
just friends who drink.
It's the one episode you can tell. It's just an episode where she's like, everybody come over and have a barbecue outside the back of my house. And that's it.
Yeah.
And it never goes
Yeah.
back.
From
So,
then on, I remember they were really like talking seriously at the time about changing the title to like one of the suggestions was Friends with Beverages. which
yeah,
I thought
friends
was
with
kind of
beverages, wine time, the cul-de-sac
Yeah.
crew, all this stuff. And then
Yeah.
like the third one or the fourth one, they were like, remember when we were talking about changing the name? That was funny.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
they just embraced it. It's kind of like how in
speaking-
Scrubs, in later seasons, they're actually doctors.
Yeah,
Yeah. But Scrubs
Yeah,
has double meaning.
yeah.
They're just a bunch of scrubs.
Huh, boy. You know what? I literally never put that together. The double meaning.
That's okay.
What about in the last season of Scrubs with Dave Franco when it was
Well, then
really
they
called
were Scrubs again. Yeah.
Scrubs Med School is
yeah,
what it was
yeah.
supposed to be. All right, Eric, this show's
The
brought to you by
college
the
years.
Radio Meanwhile Network. Did you know that?
Yeah, it is brought to you by the Radio Meanwhile Network.
And they're okay with the kind of sloppy, disjointed conversation we've just been having about Cougar Town?
It's the only thing they know. You
Really?
can find more about the show and others like it at the network's website, radiomeanwhile.com, which will be updated soon to have all the shows. I haven't updated it in like 2 weeks. That's my bad.
Boy.
And that's on me.
Oh, boy.
Yeah.
Oh, boy.
You know what? I forgot to tweet about previously on X-Men's new episode last week. And I noticed no one's tweeted about Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Well, actually, I was holding off on that one until we got to like Halloween week.
That makes sense.
Before I really started
Good call.
promoting
Well,
it.
that was what I was
it-
doing with the previously on X-Men tweets.
I mean, now this is a perfect segue, though, because this is the Halloween episode of Comic Book Coffee Break.
Yeah.
And we just recently recorded the Halloween episode of 902 and Here We Go, where we took a look at the film Buffy the Vampire Slayer. We chose that one because, of course, Luke Perry, but it also has a couple other 90210 alums in it, including a young Hilary Swank. So we were joined by Eric's co-host on Previously on X-Men, Hilary Gunning, for a takedown of Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
A takedown.
Much like when I do an episode of Three Nice Things with you, I thought it was going to be a good time, and it was just a bad movie.
It is one of the few
Happy
movies
Halloween.
that, as a teenager, I turned off.
Really?
I turned it off at one point. I don't remember. Donald Sutherland might die?
Yeah.
Okay, I turned it off then, and I think not because I was hating it, because I had somewhere else to go, and then I never turned it back on to finish it. But then I just hung on to it forever, and I was like, I'm never watching this.
We talk about this in 902 and Here We Go, of course, but
Yeah.
the real issue is that like they don't even live up to their own premise. Like Christy
Yeah.
Swanson's Buffy is not a Valley Girl in any way.
No.
It's not super shocking that she can take out vampires, you know? She's not like popping her gum anyway. 902 and Here We Go. Just go watch that. Go watch that. Eric, do you want to talk comic books?
I do.
Okay. All right. Should we start with some Marvel?
Yeah, which means you're leading the way here.
Oh, no Marvel for you this
No
week.
Marvel this week for me.
Interesting. Okay,
That's
well, then
interesting.
I read New Avengers, Luke Cage, Town Without Pity. So this is kind of a classic, like going back to the old neighborhood. Somebody's taking advantage of people in the old neighborhood situation.
Been there, done
We're
that.
I know. Where Luke is going back to his old stomping grounds. There's also a Daredevil issue in there that's that's like an early story about a boxing match between Daredevil and Luke Cage. It was a good time.
Mm.
I liked the art in this. It was very stylized. This is written by John Arcudi, Anthony Johnston, art by Eric Kinnett, among others. And it had its own style, which I really appreciated. The one thing that I consistently don't like is the Jessica Jones Luke Cage relationship. I've not read a ton of Jessica Jones. I've seen the first season of the series. I like what she pops up in things. Jessica Jones, in regards to Luke Cage, is really everything I've read with her in this new Avengers era has just had her as like the naggy sitcom wife, and it makes no sense to me. She's just like, when are you going to come and take care of your son? It's crazy. I can't hear you talk. If you're
Oh,
talking
sorry.
to me,
Yes, I was
okay.
typing. I didn't want to, but yeah, he wants to go off and be a superhero,
Yeah,
and she's like, "No, we have to
yeah.
clean the house. We have
Honestly,
guests."
yes, and like it's not interesting to read, and it's also like very unfair to the Jessica Jones character. I don't understand what they're doing with it at all.
And that's weird coming from him, Michael
Coming
Bendis.
out of like the Bendis area. This
Yeah.
is not written by Bendis, but the New Avengers.
Oh, okay.
But no, you're right though, because the New Avengers, the main title line is written by Brian Michael Bendis, creator of Jessica Jones, and he does still sideline her, where her storyline involves like finding a babysitter for the baby.
Right.
She's rarely ever like Jessica Jones. So I did kind of like this, but that was a major problem there.
I don't know. Like the artist seems familiar. I guess I've read something from Weapon X. He did. Oh, he did
Okay.
2 issues of Weapon X. Oh, I remember that art. It is weird.
Yeah,
That's it.
I liked it though. I think it suited the story well. It was
Yeah.
fun.
Oh.
Give me, what did you read? Give me something you got here.
Okay. So I'm gonna cover each of these as like single entries because I've picked up the trade paperback. It's volume 1 of 3, I believe, of the Just Imagine Stan Lee creates the characters, right? Is
DC characters
yeah,
specifically.
what was the full title? But yeah, it's
I actually didn't know this was collected. I've looked for this in the past because I remember when it came out. I remember the individual issues. I remember picking up the Robin one and just like it's unrecognizable.
well, that's
As
the
Robin.
thing. So yeah, it was marketed as Stan Lee is what if Stan Lee had created Batman? But that's not
Right.
really it. It's not really something you can do. It's just called Just Imagine Volume 1, Stan Lee, the DC Universe.
Yeah.
And yeah, you can't really do the what if you had created Batman? So he's taking elements of Batman and of these characters, but he's reimagining them. So it's not just imagine, it's just reimagine with Stan Lee.
Oh.
But he also can't stop from making them very Marvel. That's, I mean, it's very Silver
Yeah.
Age
Well,
Marvel.
I mean that's his
His
thing.
style. So, the first one that's in the volume is Batman, and the artist is Joe Kubert. And it's probably my favorite of it because he takes these kind of concepts and then he makes them overcomplicated. But basically, Batman is like this young black man, or not Batman, Wayne Williams or Williams
Okay.
Wayne, I can't remember. And he's on the street. He gets framed, and he has to go to jail. And his mom dies while he's in jail, and he's bitter. And he spends his time in jail doing the work program that makes him at the sewing machine, and also working out. And the guy's there who's very smart and helps him train and do all this other stuff. And then when he gets out, he makes a costume and he starts wrestling. And the wrestling is how he makes his fortune. And so then
Okay.
he's got the mansion. He gets the guy who helped him in jail to come be his like smart guy assistant, and then he's off. And like the wrestling element is just one step too much because
Yeah.
everything else, like I'm reading this, I'm like, okay, I could get into this character though, because
Well, that's very Spider-Man-y, isn't it?
it's it's Spider-Man-y, but also with the character having like spent years in jail,
Yeah.
it has like this other like element to it that it's just interesting. And because it has this Silver Age, it has a Silver Age mentality, but it's also starring a black man in the lead. It also feels very different. Actually, this is the only kind of like racial gender swap thing like that happens.
Oh, okay.
Nope, that's not true. Incorrect. Flash also Flash is gender swapped to be a female in their story. But yeah, the
Okay.
Batman one was my favorite one, and maybe that's because Joe Herbert's art was moody and everything, but I liked it. But again, you're really reading just Stan Lee making a brand new character.
Yeah,
And
which is less appealing to me, I guess.
it
I mean,
is.
I would be interested to have him like do a take on the classics, but that was the Robin one is the only one that I read any part
Mhm.
of, and it was just completely unrecognizable. So it was
Yeah.
like I don't want to read about some like
So
rando who calls himself
I
Robin
guess the
sometimes.
benefit is because like Stan Lee has done other like made other original superheroes outside of Marvel and stuff, and
Yeah,
they've never really taken off. But I guess with this, you're
Lightspeed.
getting like the artists that come along with it, and you're
Yeah,
getting some elements of Batman. So you get the costume of the Bat. And at one point,
okay.
he's like, and people are normally terrified of bats, so the costume's even better. But yeah, I liked the Batman issue. I
Okay.
could have read more of like this character.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, I read a little Batman. Would you like me to tell you about that?
You read a little Batman? Isn't that Batmite?
Yeah, yeah, voiced by Paul Rubens, of course, from Pee-wee's Playhouse. No, I read Batman Venom. This is by Denny O'Neil, art by Trevor Von
This
Eden.
is something I missed while I was reading all those Venom comics a couple of years
This was
ago.
kind of a different. It's
Okay.
different. I actually thought it was more connected to like Bane as well, and
Mm-hmm.
that doesn't really seem to be a part of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's really just like Batman starts out not just physically not being able to save someone because I think it's just a big boulder. He's got to move a big boulder or something. He can't do it. Not strong enough.
Can't
And
move
he
a big
becomes like,
boulder.
yeah, he becomes so obsessed with it
Mm-hmm.
and goes down kind of a dark path where he starts taking this drug that is supposed to like, increase his strength. And it does.
Mm-hmm.
But then he sort of becomes addicted to it and beholden to the people giving him the drugs until this point where he essentially seals himself in the Batcave for 30 days. Which is funny because when he comes out after 30 days, he has like a full length like hair and beard, and I'm like, 30 days
Yeah.
though, would you
Yeah.
really?
Right. Maybe it was the
So
Venom. Maybe the Venom was causing the hair
yeah, it made
growth.
his hair,
The
made the hair
hormones,
growth.
right? Yeah.
Sure, they don't tell you that. That's a side
Yeah.
effect.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was that and loose stools. Those
Yeah.
were the two side
Yeah.
effects of the venom.
Your
But
bat nipples become very pronounced in any
pronounced,
costume you're wearing.
Clooney
Yeah.
pronounced. That's how bad it got. The thing with this is, I think it's an interesting idea. It would be an interesting idea to explore. But I just don't really think they go far enough. I think that the author kind of pulls his punches rather than letting us see like a truly ugly version of Batman.
Mm.
Like he still is ultimately kind of heroic and
Mm-hmm.
just like a little strung out. And it's just like, well, whatever.
So this
Like,
isn't Elseworlds. This is still like in normal.
well, it's no, I mean, it's in that, I think it's Legends of the Dark Knight or
Right.
something like that. It's one of those ones that it was designed to sort of be out of continuity and
Right.
things. But like I said, I just don't think that it really, yeah, Legends of the Dark Knight. I just don't think that it went far enough to really like make a point of its own existence. So
Mm.
I would have liked to see sort of what it promised, but
Right.
after that initial issue where he really is like dealing with the fact that some things he just can't do because he's human, that was interesting to me because you don't get that story a ton where Batman is forced to like accept his own limitations. And so I do really think there's something there, but it just it didn't do it ultimately for me. So I don't know. Do you think you'd ever read this? I
Yeah.
can't
I
imagine.
kept meaning to. It
Okay,
just
well,
never happened.
then prove me wrong. Maybe it's great, and I
Maybe
don't know
I'll
anything.
love it.
All right, what else? What else did Stan Lee do for you this week?
Let's see. I think the next one was the Wonder Woman comic.
Okay.
That was in there. So Stan Lee with Jim Lee.
Oh,
Um,
and they're brothers, right? Is that correct?
yes.
Okay.
Stan, Jim, and Jason, twins,
Are all
triplets.
okay.
They're all triplets.
All right.
And yeah, no.
That's
So I mean, this one's a little disappointing because Jim Lee is on art, and I
Yeah.
feel like Jim Lee never gets to do something too crazy. The Wonder Woman costume is neat. So I think she's connected to trying to remember what I just read this weekend. She's connected to the Mayan mythology actually
Oh,
in this.
okay. All right.
An archaeologist's daughter I might be confusing all this. Anyway, this young girl gets the power of this Mayan goddess and becomes Wonder Woman. And it's funny, another part of the Silver Age is so she can fly because she has this like Wonder Woman like staff, and nobody can see the staff when she's flying.
Okay.
So it's like an invisible
Like the
jet.
invisible
Yeah.
jet.
And so she has that. She's super strong and everything. She's in LA. I think actually all this stuff takes place in LA, which I think
Okay.
is like, and everybody always gets one of those the names that has the same letters for beginning for the first and last name.
Alliteration.
Yeah, the alliterated naming that Stanley does.
Yeah.
So this one, the art was definitely the main point. It was less interesting, I felt, and maybe I don't know. She fought like this giant monster, this giant Nazi monster in LA, which was cool, but I don't know, not different
I
enough
could
and
think
still
of
so. Yeah,
I could think of a giant Nazi monster I'd like her to fight.
yeah. Well, this was 2001.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
That's too early. That's too early.
Yeah, not as interesting, I guess. I guess it was more middle of the road. Nothing in here was like too bad or anything, but the
Okay.
Wonder Woman one didn't really do anything. The reason I'm doing them all individually as well, you talked about this before when I mentioned it, is that these are like oversized issues.
Yes.
And like this was before I was buying comics regularly, so you were the one going into the comic book stores or whatnot,
Yeah.
seeing these, and so you picked up the run, but they were like $5 or $6 at the time.
Yes, and that's why I don't have any in my
Yeah,
box.
yeah,
because
like
at the time
prestige
it was just
form,
like,
yeah.
boy, yeah, too much.
So, yeah, I probably would have gotten these had I been in the stores at the time. Though at that price, maybe I couldn't have afforded it. I didn't
Yeah.
have like a job at the time. I was just a kid. So,
They also, I remember, like they didn't look appealing. Like the cover art of the individual issues to me, I just found very like drab. They just didn't feel.
they're a bit archaic.
They didn't feel
at
like
the
anything
time.
familiar, and
Yeah.
I guess I don't really understand the point.
Honest-
If you're not gonna have anything recognizable, what is the point?
I think
You know, I don't-
they're kind of Elseworldy.
yeah.
But they're not at the same time because he just does things that are so different. But I actually think they work better now than they
can see that.
did in 2001. In 2001, I think it'd be like, "Oh, Stan Lee, he can't do it anymore, huh? He's not doesn't." But now, Stan Lee's gone. Now we're in this age where all things of characters' histories feel like they're worth visiting in some form or another. I think they're actually more interesting these days, 20 years after they came out, because of the. I think that Silver Age thing in 2001, that was not the time that people wanted to, like, people are trying to get away from like the late 90s
Yeah.
and stuff, and things were trying to look more like the Authority and the Ultimate Universe, and
Yeah.
Jim Lee was probably a get for this issue, but I think in 2020, the Silver Age-ness of it feels retro and fun.
They look to me like indie comics when they came
Yeah,
out.
sure.
Like,
Yeah.
it just didn't. It didn't speak to me.
Yeah.
But anyway, popping back over to Marvel for a second for me, I read Marvel Masterworks Volume 5. This is by Stan Lee, Gene Colan. This is a pretty pivotal volume, I think, because it gets away from the more melodramatic storytelling that has plagued this title for a while.
Right.
There's this whole thing with Steve Rogers sort of rejecting S.H.I.E.L.D. and rejecting the Captain America persona. He has this falling out with Peggy Carter, who he thinks betrayed him. He thinks that S.H.I.E.L.D. betrayed him. And he just drives around on a motorcycle, like crying and pouting for like 15 issues. And that kind of, hopefully, comes to a close here. We kind of put a cap on that story, and we're a cap on it. See what I did there? And we're kind of moving forward, but a couple of really crucial things happen in here. First, Sam Wilson comes back as the Falcon. We haven't seen him in several issues, but he's like wanted by the police. There's some misunderstanding, and they're both in this warehouse, and so they're trying to figure out how to get Falcon out of there, and so they switch clothes. And so this is the first time that you see Sam Wilson dressed as Captain America, like he's in the full Captain America getup, and basically he goes away, and they're like, okay, there goes Captain America. And then Steve Rogers comes out in like a trench coat, basically. So that was just cool to see Sam like in the Captain America suit for the first time.
Right.
a few issues after that, the title of this is officially changed from Captain America to Captain America and Falcon. So
Oh,
I'm like officially in the Captain America and Falcon era now, which is cool because
but when does
yeah.
Steve Englehart take over fully?
Oh, I'm not sure.
Okay,
Not for a while. Not for a
okay.
while.
So
But
this is going to be a Falcon without wings for a while then too.
yeah, he's got the bird. He's just like running around in a green tracksuit,
Yeah.
vest,
Yep.
very stylish. But when the book started, I was like, I can't handle this like whiny Cap anymore.
hmm
So by the end of it, where it was the two of them teaming up, I was like, yeah, okay, bring on Volume 6. I'm ready.
Yeah.
So I liked it. I liked it. Because it's such a transitional book. I probably 3-star liked it, because
hmm
it's half and half. But just the facts of it, of this is where the titles.
Modoc's on the cover.
Yeah, MODOK is in there. Yep.
Yeah.
This is the point where the title switches over, and again, seeing Sam as Captain America for the first time was cool and
Yeah.
unexpected. So I like
Yeah.
that.
Fun. Man,
Yeah,
it's at issue 136.
yeah.
So, oh wait, that's like, is that retroactively including all the stuff that was going on in the 40s?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, not I don't not the well, no, not the 40s, but it picks up the numbering from whatever book it was that was split between Iron Man and Captain
Oh,
America.
right.
Do you remember what that
Yeah.
was? Now I can't remember.
I think that's Strange
Yeah, I don't know. I
something.
can't remember
Strange
either.
Tales.
But the book is officially
Tales to
retitled.
Astonish.
Might be Tales to Astonish. The book is retitled
Okay.
in Captain in 100. 100 is like Captain America
Right.
from then on. Yep.
The Stan Lee Superman story.
Oh, okay. How's that?
So he is an alien from another planet,
Hey, a strange visitor.
but
even?
he's a cop on his planet. Anyway, bad things happen. A prisoner gets out, comes after him. Him and the prisoner end up fighting, and it leads them to Earth, and he's stranded on Earth now. Lois Lane is a talent agent and wants to become this guy's agent in general. So this Superman's kind of like a hard case jerk. And his shtick is that he knows that
So he's really ahead of his time. Then.
he knows that if people find out he's an alien, they'll reject him. So he says all his powers are technology, like part of his belt. But then when people try to take his belt and it doesn't work, he's like, "Aha! I'll never tell you how it works. It's my secret alone."
I see. Kind of
Um,
Samson-y.
Yeah. So that's just kind of it. He fights the monster that killed his wife, and they ran back to Earth. The whole Lois Lane. There is some like old school misogyny in the way these characters
Yes.
are written. Like she's
Yep.
just like, "Let me be your agent. I just want to. We'll be in the movies and everything." He's like, "Get out of here. I need to go do man work."
Yeah.
I don't know. The Superman story in is John Buscema.
Man work.
It's a bit of a
He's got to do it.
yeah. I don't know. It's fun in its own way because it's just like a guy with all these powers showing up on Earth again, but doesn't necessarily do much either. It's
Okay.
so I don't know. It's weird that I think the Batman one still kind of works as well because he's got no power, so it's still kind of like street level and stuff. You think that like this stranger from another planet, it would still feel something, but I guess because he's playing him as like this jerk character, so it's not.
Okay.
I don't know. The art also. I mean, John Buscema. He was the one who was doing the art on the early years of New Mutants. That felt very.
Yeah.
But not like the goofy, like crazy art that was mind bending me. Just the kind of more retro style.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I felt like if the artist had maybe been someone new or at the time, I don't know,
Okay.
like a Brian Hitch at the time, it might have been more interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, that makes sense.
So otherwise, you're like, what if a guy from the '60s created a character from the '40s with an artist from the '80s? What would that look like, everybody?
Yeah.
Could you imagine?
Can you even imagine?
The Jim Lee one, is the only one that really felt like modern. And Jim Lee even is still like an artist from the 80s and 90s.
True. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's true.
you wouldn't have liked this as a Superman fan. This wouldn't have scratched any Superman itch for you.
You know what? I didn't give you these, so you don't have covers for them. So apologies, viewers. But I started reading the digital first comics that the DC Universe app is putting out. So far, I've just read the Superman ones, and I'm really digging them.
Mm.
They're just sort of standalone Superman stories
Yeah,
where,
I saw
you
like
know,
I saw some of those coming up in the new releases and wasn't sure
yeah,
entirely what those were.
yes. So I think there's only, as of our recording, I think there's maybe only the first three that are available.
Mm.
But it's a Superman, a Batman, a Wonder Woman, a Flash, Aquaman, and Harley Quinn.
Okay. Fun.
So yeah, but I like I said, I really liked it because the main Superman line for many years now has been so convoluted
Yes.
since Rebirth took
Sure.
over with him from the other universe, and they've got John the son, and like it's just so much. And I
Yeah.
feel like it's been a while since I've read just a very traditional, like classic type of Superman story. So I really appreciated the vibe of them, um, still feeling modern, but having a more like straightforward, this is a Superman story kind of approach, was something that I missed, and so and I'm going to be following those along. I don't know if there's ever a plan to collect those in print,
Mm.
um, but as of right now, I mean they're available on DC Universe app.
Right.
And I did just do that thing where like I'm officially switched over to DC Universe Infinite or whatever it's called.
Ah, yeah.
So I'm set to go. Oh, I figured out too the Captain America question we had. The title prior to 100 was Tales of Suspense,
Ah,
and
yes, of course.
Captain America becomes the co-headliner of that in issue 59.
Right.
So, I guess I've read like 75 issues of this Captain America run so far. Anyway, let's see. What else did I get into? Green Arrow, hard traveling hero.
Yeah,
This is a
how are you
rebirth.
doing this? How are you bouncing back and forth from 90s Green Arrow to Rebirth Green Arrow?
Yeah, well, it actually was a little confusing. I was really heavily reading the '90s Green Arrow. Um, well, I guess prior to that, really the Grell run. I was really into the Mike
Right.
Grell run, and when I finished that, I just kind of went on to the next oldest thing and was reading that for a while. So I kind of got like that playlist of issues going, and I've also got like the Rebirth like chronology, and so this Green Arrow just kind of fell in my Rebirth chronology.
Hmm.
I read way ahead in Green Arrow back when we did a special Green Arrow spotlight on the All the Books show when the Arrow series ended, and so
Right.
I haven't read Green Arrow Rebirth in a while, and so I was a little lost with this issue because I just don't remember what's happening. Nobody trusts Green Arrow, and that's basically it. But the book kind of functions as like a Brave and the Bold setup, where each issue he's teamed up with a different hero. I really like the art of the Superman issue. It just had a very cool vibe to it.
Hmm.
It was also kind of fun to see Green Arrow and Flash team up, just because we're so used to that from TV now.
Sure.
But it doesn't happen a ton in the comic book, so that was kind of nice
Yeah.
to see
Yeah.
that. And I mean, Smallville has made me a big Green Arrow Superman team up fan, so I like to see that as well. I enjoyed it. I think Rebirth has certainly been better for Green Arrow than New 52, which I found the New 52 stuff just unreadable.
Right.
So, yeah, I mean, I kind of like the zone this is in. I like the look of it. And I think, yeah, I mean, it's hard to top that Grell run, I
Right.
mean, that Green Arrow, the Wonder Year is still like my favorite Green Arrow story, but Longbow Hunters and all that early stuff
I
is,
knew at
is
that
really solid.
time, me and Arsenal really had
I know.
gone past a part in our relationship.
Yeah, I think that every time. I made my wife read the Wonder Year because I thought it was so good, and she agreed. She liked it as
What
well.
would
So,
you
yeah.
do if I said I got a
Yeah.
tune?
Oh, you don't have Beetle money. You got to stop. That's a
What
Lennon
about Joe
McCartney.
Crocker money?
Maybe.
All right.
I don't know how you're doing these days.
Not great. I haven't switched
Okay.
over to the DC app. If that's
Understood. Understood. Well,
yeah.
there's no pipes are falling out of my car, so I can
Yeah.
afford that DC app.
Speaking of the DC app, and reason why I'm reading these on the trade is because they're not on the DC app. These Stanley things, and I wonder.
I would assume that's a rights issue.
Re-
If that's
I
some
don't
sort of.
understand though. I mean, it's just pure DC. There's no Marvel to it.
Yeah, but yeah, maybe it's not that. I mean, not everything.
Maybe
Not
this
everything
is
is on the app.
yeah. Maybe it's not Marvel though. There was that Stan Lee company that he had.
Oh, right.
Maybe there's
Yeah.
some problems with that.
Yeah, it could be.
Uh, Green Lantern. Not bad actually. This was Dave Gibbons was the artist of Watchmen fame, but the art was more
Is
cartoony.
he a gibbon or just a man?
That's just somebody's name.
Okay, so
Yeah,
not an
no.
actual gibbon.
So this Green Lantern is an archaeologist who
Like Hawkman.
goes to Africa and
Like
finds
Hawkman.
the world tree, like the life tree. Actually, the two Hawkman and
Hmm,
Hawk Girl or Hawk Woman, one of the Hawks are like off somewhere talking about like, look, if we use these Hawks, we can find something.
that's fun.
But they don't become the Hawk people yet.
Oh,
Um,
understood.
the tree has this green mist. They're being chased by some people. He gets absorbed into the tree and mist, and now he has the life tree's powers, so there's the green energy. In this one, he fails to stop somebody from doing
Okay,
something,
sure.
and he says, "Power misused is justice abused," and
Ooh,
that's
you
his.
know it's serious when it rhymes like
Yeah.
that. You know
So that
that's
it's not quite great power comes great responsibility, but it's there.
yeah.
So this Green Lantern, yeah, it's much different than the Green Lantern, but the power set is pretty much the same. It just comes from him though. He does need to recharge. The girl he has, co-ed is like with him, like following him everywhere, and he's like, all right,
Okay.
and maybe they're in love, but also she's working for the bad guys, but wait, she's now turning to the side of good, but she dies. Everybody
Okay.
dies in
Oh,
these.
wow.
The
Okay.
villains always die, yeah. Also,
Really?
I should say there's an overarching like Deacon Dark. Does that sound right? Who's the I don't remember. It's not Damien Dark, but like there's a cult going on led by a dark.
Okay.
He's called something dark. I don't remember if it's supposed to be Damien. Maybe it is.
Okay.
Who's
It's
the
probably some play on
who's the
Miller.
Batman character? Who's like a reverend?
With the name Dark?
Reverend Dark.
I don't know.
All
That's not
right.
ringing any bells to me. Sorry, I can't help
Anyway,
you.
yeah. So fine. This one I enjoyed more than a few of the others. So,
Okay.
yeah, Dave Gibbons. I was hoping for something that looked like Watchmen because of the art, and then it didn't,
Yeah.
and I was
Well, that's too
sad.
bad. Yeah, that's a shame. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let's see. Oh, I guess I've come to the end of the DC Marvel stuff that I've read. I want to mention a movie that I watched. Can we talk about Happy Halloween, Scooby-Doo?
Yes.
Okay. You're aware that I'm a Scooby-Doo fan, right?
Yes.
You've heard of this? Okay.
Yes.
Um, so I got this movie to watch with my son, and in the opening credits, it was like based on characters created by Hanna-Barbera and DC. And I was like, oh, that's weird. And DC publishes the Scooby comic books now, so I thought, like, is there some
Mm-hmm.
like is it some merger situation? Like, I don't know why it says that. So I thought that was weird. Early on in it, they solve like an initial mystery that's sort of like just kind of a little prelude. It's not really the bulk of it. This happens within the first moments of the movie, so it's not a spoiler.
Mm-hmm.
But Velma pulls off the mask, and there's like a scarecrow underneath, like a second mask. She pulls off that mask, and it is the Scarecrow. It's Jonathan Crane, the Scarecrow. And Velma's like, oh, he must have escaped from Gotham City. There's an APB out for the Scarecrow from Gotham City. Batman is never in this. He's never in this. And it's not like this is not on the cover or something. It's not like this is a Scooby-Doo DC Comics mashup. But the Scarecrow's gas merges with some like toxic waste and creates this huge problem. And the Scarecrow is captured. He's captured right away. And they sort of like do this Silence of the Lambs situation where Velma and Jonathan Crane, the Scarecrow, are sort of like locked into this like psychological game where she kind of needs his help because it's the Scarecrow gas. And they just do this whole like we're both academics trapped in this world. It was so bizarre. It was so unexpected because the whole movie, like he's not the main villain. It really is like she's going to Arkham to like have these meetings with the Scarecrow, and they have this like relationship where they like are connecting about their intellect, and such a weird thing to do for Happy Halloween Scooby Doo. But there you go. It's the crossover you
Did
didn't know you wanted.
Did your son like this?
He did. He did. He was a little spooky because it was the Scarecrow gas and like the sludge merged and was mutating pumpkins and making like pumpkin monsters. And at the Elvira is also in it. I failed to mention that, but Cassandra Peters, the Elvira, Mistress of the Night, was a character in this as well. And there's a scary part with her in the end where her head turns all the way around and there's like an evil face on the back. That caused some nightmares. But the movie itself, he was pretty into. I can't hear you again if you're typing.
I was typing and I was like, I know who Elvira is, right? And it's like, yeah. What is she doing in this?
I don't know.
So Scarecrow and Elvira.
Yes.
In the Scooby-Doo Halloween movie.
Yes.
But no explanations why.
No.
Okay.
No, not even a Batman cameo, nothing else, just the Scarecrow.
All right.
So, I mean, I'm for it. If you want to sprinkle in DC characters to future Scooby-Doo movies, I mean, I was going to watch it anyway, but now I definitely have to.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. So
what
you want to see an episode of Scooby-Doo where Fred is naked and tied to a chair, having to watch the brutal crimes of the Joker. He's like, I'm just here to prove to you that everybody can have one bad day, Fred.
No.
Okay.
No, I don't think I want that. So thank you for setting me straight.
Okay. But was your son excited to see Scarecrow? Because, like, does that mean anything to him? Or is he just Scarecrow's here? No, I know, but, like, is he surprised to see Scarecrow? Is he just like, okay, Scarecrow's in Scooby-Doo?
He was like, is this a Batman movie? And I was like, I don't know. I don't think so. He was a little confused that there was Scarecrow and no Batman.
Yeah. Okay, I get that. As a kid, like, if the Flintstones showed up in Scooby-Doo, or who was it that showed up in Scooby-Doo? I don't know. Or, like,
lots of
Scooby-Doo's...
like Blue Falcon and Dynamite
or
show up.
The Flintstones meet Dracula or Frankenstein or something. I just watch it and I'm like, yeah, this is just what it is. This is just what happens, of course. That's
what happens.
It's not strange.
That's how it goes, yeah.
So the Flash issue of the Just Imagine Stan Lee stuff.
Yes.
Also, the character I'm trying to think of, his name is Dominic Dark. Reverend Dominic Dark. So he must be Damien Dark. I don't know why he would change the name there. Reverend Dominic Dark is like this cult that they're trying to bring about the crisis to Earth.
Okay.
Anyway, so the Flash is here. The Flash, I think her dad has ties to Dominic Dark's thing. So
okay.
While this is all like being shown in the background of other things, I think this is the first one maybe the Lantern one. It's not something I really paid attention to. I skimmed over the Dominic Dark stuff. Mary Maxwell. She is... How does she get her powers? It's... she's also put into the mist and injected with hummingbird DNA by her dad. Yeah. And so now she becomes the Flash. Her costume is kind of cool. It has like like these bell-bottom pants, like a biker...
Oh, I don't think you want to run in bell bottoms.
She does. She's got the biker helmet, and then she has like these streamers just attached from like head down. And so when she's just standing there, it's just her with streamers. But when she runs, it makes like a rainbow behind her.
Nice.
So that's fun.
That's fun. That is fun.
Yeah, and then she's just fast. So it's...
I always kind of liked the Earth 2 Flash costume. Did you ever read that DC comic New 52 Earth 2 run they did for a while with like Alan Scott and Jay Garrick? Okay. The costume designs in that were really cool.
Oh, okay.
I never finished that. Now that I have the app, maybe I should go back and finish that. Yeah. That'd be fun. Anyway, sorry.
Anyway, she fights a bunch of people.
Never-ending battle.
There's some time travel in it. She realizes that she ran past her past self, so somehow she's traveling through time, but that doesn't really play into it that much. This one's more fun and flashy than, I don't know, interesting. Maybe flashy. The weakest one. And it might be the weakest one because at the same time, I've now read like 4 of these prior, and I'm just kind of like, all right.
Yeah, you get it.
Yeah, I'll just skip ahead so that we're a little bit more even. It ends...
No, I have one more.
I have one more after this too.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
This collection ends with the JLA collection, where they all now of these 5 heroes team up. So Stan Lee... So this is should be more interesting. This is Jerry Ordway doing the art, because now Stan Lee isn't recreating the Justice League so much. He's just bringing the characters he's made.
Yeah, that's kind of fun.
The thing is, like, Superman is, like, much more of a jerk this time around and much less interesting. Wonder Woman fails to have much of her personality, and it's weird. The Batman character is like chipper. He's like, I'm not used to working with a team, but I'll give it a go. Green
That's
Lantern,
nice.
because he's connected to this like tree and has all this knowledge and stuff. He's treated as the hero, as like the
Okay.
leader,
All right.
who brings them all together and
Okay.
everything. It's it actually makes none of these character ideas are terrible. And some like the Batman or even the Superman have like very interesting things to them. It maybe like a lot of Stanley creations, this would have been even more interesting had like other people than taken these characters on.
Okay.
Apparently this universe still exists. DC has it labeled and everything, and sometimes they show up in, you know.
Really? Oh,
So I don't know, but yeah, this like that Batman comic, I would have enjoyed reading more of
yeah.
with that stuff and seeing it. What's kind of a bummer is, so in the Justice League one, he creates the Doom Patrol, and they're villains.
Okay.
So
All right.
there's Blockbuster, there's Parasite, and there's Deathstroke. And Deathstroke's powers are that if he touches you, you die. Thus, a death stroke. And so that's the only time like villains are reimagined too. So it would have been interesting to see some of that stuff go. But anyway,
Yeah, I mean, sounds like potential there.
yeah, there's 3 volumes, 2 and 3, because it just keeps going. It does Robin and through Sandman, and then there's like a Crisis that has John Cassidy on art, so that sounds like it could be fun.
Oh,
But
okay.
anyway,
Is it something you like? Are you interested in
yeah,
reading
I
more?
would, but I think the library only had this first volume, so I don't know how I'm
Oh.
going to get the volume 2
Yeah.
and 3.
Yeah, you have to throw your weight
Yeah,
around.
interesting curios. I think your mileage will definitely vary. I think if you're a DC fan going in and you want to just see like DC characters like they are, but with like smaller changes, you won't like it. I think
Yeah.
my mileage of like Silver Age Marvel is what carried me through this reading.
That makes sense.
So,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, the last thing I read this week was again. I mean, I've said before, Halloween without Archie comics is just it's no Halloween at all, Eric. And I know you strongly agree with that. Uh, so I read Josie and the Scaredy Cats.
Mhm.
And this was not as good as that Archie Halloween thing that I read last week. The problem with this, I think, was that they're not really Halloween issues. They're spooky things happening to Josie and the Pussycats. And often Josie and the Pussycats is more like a backup story, so they're very short. And so there's not really enough time for anything to happen. And they never really are doing like ghosts and stuff. It's just sort of like vaguely spooky. So I actually didn't like this one very much at all.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
that's a bummer.
I'm sorry to report. I know. I know.
I'm bummed for you.
It happens.
I'm
It
bummed
happens.
for you.
It happens. Thank you, Chris Walken.
Yeah. All right.
All right, so you had one more. All right,
Yeah, I
let me
did.
hear it.
I've read the Frank Miller. Oh boy, why can't I remember? Simonson, help me.
I don't know.
All right. Well, I read Terminator versus RoboCop,
Yeah.
the comic book
Okay.
series.
All right.
Yeah. Why can't I remember his name? He's Walter Simonson.
Okay.
Frank Miller scripted this. Walter Simonson illustrated it. So I was excited because I've always thought that like RoboCop versus Terminator is a great idea, and I wasn't aware this thing existed. And I always thought it would just be RoboCop fighting a bunch of Terminators, and then he reprograms the Terminators to help him fight Skynet. This gets very time travel-y and trippy in some places. It's set in RoboCop's Detroit, so everybody and their mother has a gun, and it's Frank Miller's like political satire.
Right.
So take that however you want. And basically, RoboCop is considered to be a progenitor of the Terminators because he's a human mind combined with the Terminator.
Right.
And so once they combine his human mind with Skynet, we get the Terminators. And so someone is going back in time and trying to kill RoboCop and succeeds. But then the Terminators, as time is changing, they have just enough time to send something back and kill her to stop that from happening. So now RoboCop hasn't been killed, and now him and the woman, but RoboCop saves that woman, and so now they're teamed up, and so he also tries to destroy himself, and the Terminators again are like, oh no, and they send somebody back even further, and then RoboCop is in the future and he helps them destroy things in the future.
Gotcha. Okay.
It's not like just the RoboCop punching Terminators that I wanted. But I don't know.
That sounds dense.
It was still, I don't know, it was still kind of fun to see those two characters.
I love a good crossover.
I'm less of a RoboCop fan than a Terminator fan for sure. I've seen RoboCop 1 and RoboCop the remake and a little bit of RoboCop the cartoon.
Okay.
Which was I actually enjoyed, but it was probably stupid. I don't know. I imagine if you like RoboCop more than I do, you'd enjoy this more. So
this reminds me of a Frank Miller question for you, because recently on 902 and Here We Go, we were listing some credits, and one of them was Gabrielle Carteris, who plays Andrea in 90210, was a voice actor in this animated series based on a Frank Miller comic that I had never heard of. And you texted me and you were like, "You've never heard of Rusty Boy?"
Oh yeah, Big Guy and Rusty. Well, you know what?
What is this?
I never read the comic, but I watched the cartoon when it was on Fox Kids. Rusty is like a new advanced robot, but he's a boy robot. And he looks up to Big Guy, who everybody thinks is a robot, but it's actually a dude in a like mech suit. And so they have to keep the secret from Rusty that he's really a robot. And then they fight monsters and organizations and stuff. So it's kind of just like a big robot person who's actually a guy, and then like a boy robot who has an actual robot but stronger.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Wow.
No, that was more of in general.
All right.
It was Fox Kids. I think
I've
at the
just
same
never
time.
heard of this. Never.
At Fox Kids, I think you were watching maybe season 3 of Digimon, but also that Spider-Man Unlimited cartoon was on Fox Kids.
So
do you remember that?
No, I don't. This is like slightly after my time.
Spider-Man Unlimited was the one where he was on Counter Earth and he had Venom.
I've heard of this. I've just never seen it.
Ended on a cliffhanger. Not a lot of people. I remember seeing a tweet that said, Spider-Man Unlimited taught me about disappointment.
Yeah. That's a hard, sad truth.
Yeah.
I've still never gotten over running into my house on a Saturday morning and being puzzled as to why Super Friends was gone.
Yeah.
I still have that.
Sorry, man.
That scar is still here, and it is still.
I don't think
deep.
Big Guy and Rusty is considered to have been a great show, but I liked it as a kid.
Okay.
I thought it was fun.
All right.
Yeah.
That sounds good. Do you have a Batman pick for us this week?
Yeah, sure. So we've talked a few things about Batman, but my Batman pick this time is going to be Batman, the Man Who Laughs by Ed Brubaker and Doug Monk. Mank?
Okay.
Have you ever read this?
I don't think so.
Man, I should have sold my copy when I had the chance, because they put this out. Hold on, let me get my copy right here.
Okay.
So this is the copy I have is like an original, like first printing kind of thing. It came out. It was like a prestige standalone graphic novel that was released.
Okay.
I'm looking for a date here. I don't see one. Oh yeah, looking for a date here. This must be 2002. Huh? No, it's 2005. Nothing? Yeah. All right, it's 2005. So it came out probably alongside with Batman Begins. It's basically a direct sequel to Batman Year One.
Okay. That's fun.
But they put it out, and then you couldn't reprint it, and so I could have sold it for like a couple of bucks a while ago. But then now they have reprinted and everything, because nothing's hotter than the Joker these days.
That was me and my Nightwing trades.
Oh, sure.
For a long time, the Nightwing trades were just impossible to find. Yeah. Then I had a bunch of those, but I couldn't bear to part with them. Same with Batman Prodigal, where Dick Grayson first takes over as Bruce Wayne.
Right.
I happened to have those, and those were like hot commodities. Yeah. Now I think most have been printed, but there was a window where I could have cashed in.
Yeah. Man Who Laughs. So basically, this is their first interaction with Joker, but again, it's told mainly through. It's like Year One. It's mainly told through Commissioner Gordon and Batman, journaling and everything. So you see the effects of like Joker perfecting his laughing gas and all this stuff. So you see the Red Hood, and it's not like, it doesn't really tell you anything you don't know. It's very quick with the Batman Joker interaction, but it's kind of like, the Batman Year One then the Joker, so you could read it
Yeah.
directly, which is
Okay.
kind of what, after Batman Begins then with them finding the card and everything is what everybody was
Yeah.
talking about right after Begins. So, yeah, it was more interesting than I don't know, it was more interesting than like a good quality read or something. It wasn't like mind-blowing or anything when I had read it. But I think these days it's more just kind of like a side thing. I don't hear too many
Okay.
people talk about it. And maybe because
No.
it's reprinted now, that even less so, which is weird.
Yeah, I
But,
guess that's true. Yeah. Yeah.
so,
Okay.
yeah,
Well, maybe I'll check that
I
out then.
should have. I can't remember. It was like a $12 thing.
I when Tron Legacy came out and Disney was like going from door to door taking all copies of the DVD Tron so that no one would watch it, I had a copy and I sold it for $80 on
Yeah,
eBay, and I
that's
was
the
very
thing.
excited about that. It
Yeah.
was a very narrow window where
Yeah.
my DVD copy of Tron made some bank for me.
Yeah, I wish you hadn't spent it on 4 Blu-ray copies of Tron Legacy.
Yeah, and I never got around to watching it. That's the thing.
With 1 copy of Tron, I could get 4 copies of the new Tron.
It made sense to me at the time, if that one was worth that. Think how much.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Something else would be.
80 times 4,
Hey,
we'd
you know
never
what?
know.
Speaking of Kurt Russell, we rewatched Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 last night.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, it's a good time.
Yeah.
That's only the second time I've seen it.
Oh, yeah.
So I don't think I saw that one in theaters.
He's coming
I think I
back
just-
for Christmas. His
I know,
Christmas
yeah.
Chronicles. With
Yeah,
Goldie
Christmas
Hawn, though.
Chronicles.
She's going to be in it.
Yeah, right on the cover. Yeah, I
Yeah.
saw that. All right, well, I chose a Halloween-themed quarter bin today. You ready for this?
Yes, I am.
Funky Phantom, baby.
All right, hold on. I'm gonna
Phantom.
leave the room. It's gonna look like I've
Nope.
left the room,
Nope.
but I'm actually here
Nope.
listening. So you just keep.
Funny, because a similar thing happened to the gang in Funky Phantom.
Oh no.
Number 10. So this is from 1974. No authors or illustrators credited.
Mhm. When
other
is
than
when
Hanna-Barbera.
is Funky Phantom on TV?
Around this time,
1974. Okay.
Mid-70s. Yeah, I mean, this was one of the many things that popped up, like Jabberjaw or Goober and the Ghost
Right.
Chasers.
But that was all
like, yeah,
70s, yeah. I
we
guess
wanna
that
be
makes
Scooby-Doo.
sense because like all the characters have like that 70s kind of bell bottoms and
Oh, yes.
everything.
Yeah. And the chase music is the exact same as Scooby-Doo. That
Mm.
bum, 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 ba-na-na-na-na-na-na, all that.
No, 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 no.
Anywho, one of the characters in Funky Phantom, voiced by Mickey Dolenz of the Monkees, who we saw live in concert. Here's our story. So if you're not familiar with Funky Phantom, Jonathan Wellington Muddlemore, known affectionately as Muddsy, is a ghost who's afraid of everything, who some groovy teenagers find in an old clock, and then they go around solving mysteries. So in this one, 3 spook sleuths, a ghost named Priscilla Atwater is all over Muddsy. She's trying to get him to propose. She wants a commitment. Muddsy is just a ghost. I mean, he's the Funky Phantom. He doesn't want to be tied down. You know what I mean? He wants to carouse. Anyway, he tells her that he cannot propose to her because he was engaged to Judith McAndrews at the time of his death in 1776.
But
So
he's free now. Till death do you part, man.
yeah, but since he's still, he still has form, he doesn't feel that he can break the engagement to Judith Andrews, made 200 years ago.
Right.
He's trying to prove this because Priscilla's like, you are not engaged. You just won't commit to me, Muddsy. And so the kids are like, hey, you know what? I know somebody with an imperfect time machine. Let's go give that a whirl. So they go to a time machine. They travel back in time to 1776. Muddsy gets out of the time machine and he's running to Judith's house and runs smack into a brick wall because in the past, Muddsy and Priscilla aren't ghosts anymore. They're flesh and blood. But guess what? The gang is all phantoms now. So now it's a reverse.
It's happened. It's finally happened.
It's a complete reverse. Anyway, he's not used to this, being able to bump into things. So he slams right into this dude, and we find that this guy finds that his money has been stolen. So he accuses Muddsy, but the kids kind of scare this guy off. They're like, go away, Homer. And so he goes away thinking that all these ghosts are after them. They run to Judith's house. It's empty. There's cobwebs. Something spooky's going on. They run upstairs. There's a man hanging from a noose. We only see this in
Frick.
silhouette. I know.
Still.
And they're all like, ah! We get up closer and they realize that it's not somebody who's being hung. It is a faceless marionette that looks just like Mudsie. So that's spooky. But it turns out that this is just a pirate gang is using this empty house for like being pickpocket, teaching others how to pickpocket. So it's basically like a Fagin Artful Dodger situation that we've got here. So they capture Mudsie and Priscilla, who again are not ghosts anymore.
Right.
But the ghost kids come in and they spook the pirate gang, and everything's fine. They get out of there. They're taking pirate gang to jail, and they run into this man again, Homer Gladwin, and they notice the woman with him, Judith, Mudsie's fiance, is now Mrs. Homer Gladwin. Can you believe that?
Yeah.
The woman he was engaged to
I know.
is married to this other guy.
I guess. You tell me. Hold on. Let me do try it again.
Okay. It turns out he's married to none other than Mudsie's ex-fiancée, Judith.
Huh. Is that not how you do a spit take?
Not at all. So Mudsie, of course, is very hurt that she didn't wait. I mean, she didn't even wait for his body to get cold. He's probably still trapped in a clock somewhere, waiting to be rescued. But then, you know what?
What?
There's a calendar on the wall. It's not 1776. Guess when it is, Eric?
It's 1778.
No, it's 1799. The time machine, which if you'll remember, I said was an imperfect time machine in the beginning.
Did tell us that.
Dropped them off at the wrong time. Turns out Judith did wait for Mudsie over 10 years and then finally moved on. So he feels good about that. And you know who feels really good about that? Priscilla, his ghost girlfriend, because now Mudsie's free and she can finally put a ring on it.
So the cover of this only has the cat. Who's Priscilla? Funky Phantom Priscilla. I want to know.
Yeah, she's just a lady ghost. She's a lady ghost.
Is she but is she like a lady ghost, like also from the 70s, or is she like a today's lady ghost?
No, she looks, well, that's a good question. No, I think from the 1700s, because she stops being a ghost when they go back in time. So, yeah, can you see her here?
I do not recognize this character. Was she in the cartoon?
Yeah. I didn't recognize her either, actually. Okay. I didn't know who that was, so maybe not.
So, well, looking at the characters, like I remember the big guy, and orange-haired dude, and the girl. I do not remember the big fat dog.
Yeah, they have this dog, and the dog and the ghost cat are always chasing each other around. The ghost cat is kind of a Scrappy-Doo kind of character. Ooh. The ghost cat's not afraid of things. Yeah. But Mudsie, of course, terrified of things, including other ghosts.
You know what? So, give it up to Jabberjaw. He stands tall. Yeah. I think of Jabberjaw. I know exactly who Jabberjaw is. I do not remember his band. He could have gone solo. He could have. Yeah. So. You know what we're neglecting when we're listing all these Scooby-Doo clones? Nobody has said Speed Buggy yet. Yeah, Speed Buggy was good. I think I remember what Speed Buggy's characters looked like. Yeah, Speed Buggy's solid. I mean, he was kind of the Scooby-Doo of the gang. He was always like... Oh, yeah. You know what? I only remember the kid with the green tracksuit and the goggles. Yeah. Very Shaggy-esque. Yeah. They're always the Shaggy. Yeah, and then there's somebody who looks like a dark-haired Race Bannon. Yep. Yeah. The adventure of the Yeti Snow Princess took a lot out of both of us, Race. Oh, my gosh. All right. So that's my Halloween quarter bin. Was it spooky? Oh, I mean, when they come up and there's like a corpse dangling from a That's noose? Crazy. Yes. I was shocked to hear that. Like, well, they were like, "Well, we can't do this on the cartoon. Put it in the comics. Show his murder." Even though it doesn't end up being someone hanging there, if you're a child reading that, that is what you think. Yeah. So spookier than your Josie and the Scaredy Cats. Yeah, spookier than Josie and the Scaredy Cats. Absolutely. Long tails. Now, I already mentioned one of the Halloween specials that we recorded, so you can pop over to 902 and Here We Go and listen to our Buffy the Vampire Slayer episode. On the SoundCloud for 902 and Here We Go, we also have a special playlist of all of the Halloween episodes of both 902 and Here We Go and Nostalgia Me This, so you can listen to all of those. Eric and I, dropping on Monday the 26th, we did the All the Books Halloween Now 6, where we talk all about Stephen King's disappointing, spoiler alert, book, Christine. Yeah, you'll wish there was a Speed Buggy in that. Yeah, you certainly will. Yeah. Oh, do you think Speed Buggy and Christine would hit it off? No.
You don't think
she's
so?
evil.
Well, yeah, but maybe he could change her.
And isn't Christine
You know what
LeBay? Is that the thing? LeBay was
Yeah.
Christine? I thought
That's the thing.
Christine was its own thing, and
Yeah.
then LeBay was connected to it.
No, I think it's basically Christine is not a thing. It's
hate
mostly
LeBay.
just LeBay. I hate LeBay too. Any other Radio Meanwhile Halloween specials for the cats to
No,
look out
I
for?
thought, the 90s song, it's either we do a kid's cartoon, we do something from like Nightmare Before Christmas or Hocus Pocus, or we cover Nick Cave's Red Right Hand. And I don't think Kendra would have loved that. So maybe in the
You're not
future.
feeling either
But
one.
yeah, I wasn't.
Okay.
It's harder. For Christmas, we've got one. For New Year's, we've got one. But for Halloween, Rihanna hasn't done Disturbia yet. She's in the
Yeah, of
2000s.
course. Yeah.
So
All right, so it's 902 and Here We Go and Radio 64 that have Halloween episodes. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, well, keep an eye out for any of those fine podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Oh, was that it?
That
was the
that's
end.
all.
All right, bye
No, I
everybody.
mean, no.
Too late. Goodbye.